Hey guys, welcome back to Kingdom College. It's Celine and I'll be helping you guys out with some selective preparation tests. So we'll be doing power reading test 24 today. So let's move on to the first question, okay? Elizabeth Costello could be best described as living A, a life full of sorrow and desperation, B, surrounded by comfort and splendor, C, a simple and bountiful country life, or D, in the one place for for the whole of her life. So I put two pieces of the extract in this slide because I think this is where we can draw some conclusions. So firstly, it's I'm assuming that you guys have read the entire text, and at the very last few parts of the extract, it actually becomes clear that the mother and the father of the narrator is dead, and the second part that I've put here, the today I pushed my way through the undergrowth, so that's actually the narrator visiting the grave, and the first few sentences I've inserted here, the my mother died of sick madness, actually describes Elizabeth Costello. Okay, so in this case, because the mother died of sick madness, okay, and grief, fear, we can already deduce that it is not B or C. B or C is positive, so we only have A or D as our options, and in this case, we would actually choose A because judging by the first extract that I've inserted in this slide, it's very morbid, right? And because it's very morbid, it's filled with sorrow, desperation, hence why the solution is A. Cool. Cool, let's move on to question 2. The narrator's return to his parents' grave had been A, plans well in advance, B, something he thought he couldn't do, C, undertaken many times, and D, in the company of his brother. So, firstly, let's go through the extract that I've inserted. So it was 50 years ago to the day on which I choose to begin to write these words. 50 years ago that my father, brother, and I dug her grave, dressed mother in her own gown, wrapped her in remains, poor thin little soul she had become, in the linen that had once been her mother's, and laid to rest among those trees. So the narrator actually recounts their father, brother, and themselves burying the mother 50 years ago. So this doesn't seem like something that was undertaken many times, so we can already take out C as our option. D, in the company of his brother. This is true when we think about it, right? This is true, but we're not. This is not something that we want to really focus on, because we're focusing a lot on the emotions of the narrator. When you also really think about it, if you look at this part of the extract, it was with the father, and yeah, though it's not the present tense at least. So the right now C and D are just knocked out. A, plans well in advance. We don't actually have anything that supports that in the text. Like, we don't have any words that try and tell us that they have been waiting for weeks, months, days. So there's just not enough evidence, hence why the solution is actually B, something he thought he couldn't do. Also, if you integrate this with the emotions, like the mixed feelings that the narrator is having, they're very conflicted. They're really filled with grief. And even in the final few sentences, which I have not inserted on the slide, there's some really intense conflicts that we can actually see. Anyway, let's move on to question 3. So the narrator's father did not survive his wife by much. What feelings does the narrator convey by this? So I got this answer simply because of one sentence. Okay, this is the second last sentence, I believe. So, my father, foolish man, not foolish man, lost spirit, survived his wife by no more than a handful of hours. So, in case you guys did not read the previous sentence carefully, Elizabeth Costello and John Costello actually died in the same year, 1876. So they're talking about how the narrator's father has died shortly after his wife, so Elizabeth Costello. So for this answer, there's not there's not this this sorry feeling, right? If anything, it almost seems as if the narrator is kind of making fun or berating the father by saying foolish man, lost spirit, right? There's no sense of shock as well, so we can't say that it's B. He couldn't believe the sequence of events. We can't say that it's C either, because there's not admiration here. He's not looking at the father's death as something that's brave. He calls him foolish, actually, and lost. So in this case, the only reasonable answer we have is actually D. He felt that it was silly of his father to let go. So moving on to the second extract with the black rat. Just before we get into the questions, I would like to point out that there are actually a fair amount of English techniques in this poem, so I would really encourage you guys to just maybe sit down and maybe identify about 3 techniques and its effect. Maybe just like analyze it in your head as well. The most prominent one I can think of from the poem is actually a historical allegory. So an allegory is when you use one item or subject to refer to another item or subject, something that's very different, but they share the same qualities. This is different to a metaphor, because a metaphor will explicitly state, for example, the black rat is an indigenous man, right? But an allegory will not explicitly state that. They will just make references by sharing the same attributes or qualities with each of their topics or subjects, right? So in this case, we have this allegory of this black rat and indigenous Australian soldiers during the Anzac wartime. So because we're referencing as well a historical event, it is a historical allegory. So this poem really just alludes to the experiences of indigenous Australian soldiers, as well as the perception that society had on them, especially if you take a look at how they were treated initially and then after their service at war, which is very interesting to look at. It would actually be really helpful as well if you guys had some background information like history or geography or any hissy, just to understand the purpose of these poems. It helps you have a deeper understanding. Anyway, so for question 4, the poem sheds light on a very important result of war. What is it? Victory, poverty, the futility, and heroism. So the only word that I can think that you guys may be unfamiliar with is futility. Futility means like pointlessness, right? There's pointlessness, and it also has tones of sadness as well. So it's a very like sad redundance, if you guys know what I mean. Poverty is in regards to like a low income. Heroism is when someone is appreciated for their quote unquote good actions in society, for benefiting society or seen as a benefit. Very subjective as well. Anyway, I've chosen 3 parts of the poem. I think you can reach these conclusions with these 3 parts especially. The very first one I chose, which is, I'll explain this one. The price of fighting for the freedom of man did not make any difference to this black man. So this directly points at C, because there's no victory happening here. There's no win. Same with D. There's no hero here. There's no happy tones when you think about it. There's no reference to B, which is poverty. It just talks about how there is no change, right? And there's no change, meaning that it was pointless, but there was a price, right? There was a price of freedom. There was a price of fighting for freedom, right? And this fight, all this effort and time, money, resources spent in this fight was pointless because there was no difference, hence why the answer should be C. Moving on to question 5, when the rat of Tobruk returned, how did he live out his life? So I've taken this conclusion from the extract once again. This once tall man came from a proud black tribe, died all alone, no one at his side. Right, so here B, C and D B and D is already kicked out because like a hero would be in reference to celebration with others, and D is amongst family and friends. There is here it actually says they died, like this black the rat of Tobruk has actually just died by themselves. So that leaves us with A and C. Okay, so as a free man with rights, there's actually nothing here that really alludes to that. Also, as a free man with rights, really, it kind of implies that the person was not free, and the person did not have rights before, which I personally think is untrue. I wouldn't go as far as saying that they did have rights. They were living in a state of poverty, but I do think they were free. So that's why I wouldn't say D, which is why I would say in A, because that is a definitive answer, right? This person, this black rat, returns to their country in the same state that they were in, and they were in a state of poverty beforehand, right? And the difference, well, the only slight difference or new information presented in this part of the extract is that they're by themselves. In question 6, when the rat of Tobruk returned, how did the people treat him initially? So at the very beginning, the black rat was, or the rat of Tobruk was not treated very well. They were, I think they were really hit, battered and scared. So yeah, they were not treated very well. Even if you just look at the living conditions, tin hut with a hard dirt floor. Yeah, but then in this part of the extract, this is the second stanza. Battered and scared, he fought for this land. So after the war, and on his return, they all shook his hand. So they're congratulating him, or they're congratulating them. All right, so the answer will be B. He was well accepted and congratulated. So for questions 7 to 10, we have a closed passage. We're going to be taking a look at the context of the sentences previous and after, or maybe just one of each, before actually finalizing our answer. On this slide, we have the options, but I will be looking at this one just for the sake of putting it in. Something I just want to point out very quickly is that the options are A, B, C, D, but if you notice say question 10, the order is actually A is B, B is C, C is D, and D is E, right? Please keep in mind that when you do answer these questions, just circle it after the number, right? After the number on your test paper, do not write down the letter A, just circle the answer on the side so that it's very clear that you are that's your answer, basically. So when I say that, I'm talking about how I've underlined my answers here, or the solutions. So you don't need to write it on the actual text. You can just circle it when you are writing them on the exam. So we have this extract about the shopping trolley. The development of the shopping trolley in the 1930s was important in the history of retail sales. An American supermarket owner, Sylvan Goldman, invented the trolley. Here it would be really useful to talk about the context. So it's a last sentence, so you could probably say something about the 1930s, but it's actually more relevant to talk about the new topic that they've raised, or the new fact that they've talked about, which is Sylvan Goldman. So we can actually insert a little fact about him, which is that is in relation to, by the way, the creation of the shopping trolley and how it's benefited retail. So the appropriate answer here would be E. His motive was not just to help customers carry their shopping, but also to encourage them to buy more. Then we're going to look at the second paragraph. To create the first trolleys, Goldman used folding chairs. So based on this sentence, we can talk about how they're made, maybe the materials they've used, the design. So in that case, C is an appropriate answer because it describes what a shopping trolley looks like and how it works. So he put 1 or 2 baskets on the seats, which he had raised by putting the wheels under the legs. Moving on to question 9, he was disappointed to find that the business did not improve. 9, Goldman persisted with his idea because he knew that people could be easily influenced. So here we're talking about, because it makes a turn, like the first sentence of the paragraph it does not have a good tone. It's saying that there's expectations were not reached, but then the sentence after 9 shows that there's a positive change, because he persisted with this idea. So for question 9, it would be appropriate to put in D. Shoppers hesitated to use trolleys because they were afraid they might not be able to control them, because it provides further reason for he was disappointed to find that business did not approve, and then he makes the turnaround in the following sentence. Now let's move on to he tried again, and this time his idea seemed to work. Question 10. Others, seeing them, were then convinced the trolleys were safe after all. What they did not know was that they were the victims of a stunt. The people they saw had been paid by Goldman to impersonate customers happily pushing loaded trolleys. So, like we have mentioned for question 9, the tone is suddenly something that is very good, something that's changed. So, in this case, B, crowds of people were seen coming from his supermarket with trolleys fully laden, would be appropriate because it gives us that image that we need to continue it. Continue the extract, where it says others seeing them were then convinced that the trolleys were safe after all. Okay. So because people were able to see how the trolleys were practical and that they were convenient, people were convinced that they were safe after all. Also, really sorry, I've been referring to the answers with these, like A, B, C, D, and E, because I was talking about the options, but the solutions are actually at the bottom right. So 7 should be answer D, 8 should be answer B, 9 should be answer D, and 10 should be answer A. But on the right letter, please refer to these extracts of these sentences. So that's the end of this test. Thanks for completing it with me. Congrats to those that did as well. Just some key points I'd like to point out is the techniques. This is mainly in the second extract. I know that we're only going through multiple choice and that we've been doing the process of elimination every now and then. But if you guys do get the chance, or there is an opportunity where you do have extracts similar to these in your short answer or extended response, really knowing techniques and understanding why composers have used them would be really helpful in providing like further insight as to why the text has been written, or maybe just understanding a deeper meaning, a deeper layer, or deeper purpose of the text itself. Secondly, conclusions can be reached through multiple parts of the extract. Most texts good text will emphasize their message over and over again, but usually it's just phrased a little bit differently. So if you guys have noticed in some of the questions, I've copy and pasted maybe 2-3 parts of the text when I was getting my answer. That is because the message or the answer is continuously reiterated. Please keep that in mind as well when you guys are composing your own work, because especially if it's an argument, that would just be really good to know, because it means that your message is being communicated very well, very creatively as well, if you're doing it through different means. And lastly, use context clues to unanswer closed passages. So once again, the technique that I suggested or that I went through, look at the sentence before and after, even just take a look at the structure of it all, okay? Just think to yourself, right? Like, why would you try and introduce a new fact at the very last sentence, right? You should be summarizing what you have just said. So yeah, basically that's it for today. I'll see you guys next week. Have a good week, and I hope you guys understood the content.